let's get the party going. All right, everybody here. It's getting cold again. Let me get chat. All right, Twitch live, YouTube online. All right, here we go. So this morning I was struggling to get the arrow selection working. Now what we have currently is better than what we had before. But as you can see, there's still some weird stuff happening. So I'm gonna sidestep that for a moment. The selection question is something I need to ponder a little longer to figure out exactly how I'm gonna do it. Basically how to reverse engineer which SVG elements correspond to which data in the original puzzle. Because there's nothing uniquely identifying that data. It kind of depends on the order of parsing. And the parser is not very well organized, so I can't, determine this. I don't want to kind of rely on that. So in the future, I might have to add some IDs or some markers, data markers on the SVG elements. That's one way of doing it. Keep references to them. That's another way of doing it. Although right now my render functions have no way of returning composite objects. So they only return a singular, 1 second. Oh, thank you. Somebody updated their Patreon pledge. Very much appreciated. So, to kind of get back to building most of the previously available functionality, first of all, I'm going to commit this stuff. And mostly this was a line and arrow components, right? We have a line component and arrow component, and I'm just gonna commit that. Sure, if you want to restart, be my guest. But what I'm gonna look at now is the editing of lines. And previously that was implemented in the editable line thing with a whole bunch of custom code. Now we don't want to do that anymore, obviously. So, and I'm gonna split this 2 ways. And gonna do this. So I'm gonna look at my deprecated code. So I think all of that happened inside section lines. Yeah, so basically we need to figure out how do we do this kind of custom editing, right? So I can select a line, but for example, I can select these two, but not very deterministically, right? So if lines are on top of each other, now here one happens to be thinner than the other one, but when they're not, it might not be super obvious which one we get to select. So as part of that, I would like to, first of all, add a bunch of visualizations for the points. So for example, if all the points of one line are closer than all the points of the other line, and both the distance to the line is within a certain range of each other, then choose the one where all the points are closer, because the other line I can move my cursor and select this here if I can select it here, right? And I don't want it to be fiddly, right? I want it to make sense. So we're going to ignore the arrow component for now. We're going to look at the line component, and we're going to think about how we're going to add higher level, like rendering aids to the thing, right? Because we want to render markers in here. And the markers, we have a couple of options, right? One of the options is to create a separate SVG that floats on top of the other SVG. That would be the most sort of separate thing. Our marker elements don't interfere with anything, etc., right? The other option is to add a new group within the SVG. So if I look at the SVG in here, I have a bunch of groups which are basically my layers, and I could just add another one on top. And it makes sense for it to just be right on top of everything. And the third option is... No, those are the two options, really. I mean, the third option would be just to use an existing group. But I think for the editor, it makes sense to just add a new editor group and make that available to everything, right? So we're going to put that in the puzzle editor. So, and And we're going to do it under attach and detach, right? And I don't think we can use create element for creating SVG elements, right? Because they are special sauce. So I think the renderer, we're doing this somewhere. We've been, yeah, like the arrows, for example, right? We're creating groups for adding the arrowheads in. So let's just see how we're doing that. So we're literally using render part. Okay. So if I do a render part here, without a target, so SVG Editor, right? So we're getting access to the renderer here. We're rendering a raw part without a target. I'm just curious where it'll end up. And then G, right? And G.parent node. I'm actually interested in that as well. Put that in here. And we have no attributes here. We do have an ID though. Editor. And what do you call that? I'm sure there's a name for it. Editor visualizations. What do you call them? I'm sure there's a... whatever. There's a name for it. I'm sure there is. Somebody must have made a name for it at some point. The Wonder Lighthouse report. Missing in arguments list. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. So I don't see it in here. I don't see it here. Attach element. Attach element must have happened at some point though. Ah. Now it's happened. Oh, okay, so it defaults to one of these guys. Interesting. All right, and it doesn't pass the ID through. But I think there might be a way of doing it. I mean, it doesn't matter because I can just use the reference and then, you know. So if we go to render part, I mean, really, this is the only thing that we care about, actually. Type attribute. Set attribute. I guess we could set the ID as an attribute. So, kind of like that. With one less T, perhaps. And it should become parent. It's under underlay. I guess that's just the default. Ooh, but it's gone. G ID parent G underlay, and then there's nothing. Ooh, that's a problem. So this happens before the rendering happens, and then the rendering just bloody resets everything. Ah, but it empties it out. So if I move it outside, it should be fine. Okay. And get LM, right? So we can do this. Something like that. And then we can do SVG element, so append child G. And then we can do this again and this again. If we do this now, at first, underlay will be the parent, then the SVG renderer will be the parent, and now we have a editor thing. And it should... Oh, it gets added. Yeah, we do want to remove it. So let's call this... G, and then we're just going to do something like this dot, what did we call that? Editor layer. Let's just call it layer. Let's embrace it. And then under detach element, see if this sits around here. Dot remove. And let's just gate it. I mean, it should exist, but so if I go away, so there's editor here, editor's gone, editor's back, editor's gone, editor's back. All right, and then we just have to make sure we're not holding on to references to it elsewhere. Hey, Izzy, what are you doing? Kind of funny because I created this dialog for that purpose. But then I guess you press stay pause to look at it, but then... Wait a second, if I do step pause, I press play. Should just... Wait a second, that's wrong. 1 second. If I'm paused, so it's playing now. Now it's paused, there's a play button instead of a pause button. Now I say stay paused, it's a play button. That's broken, that should resume. Do you not get this dialog? Maybe you have disabled it? Whoops. This is a bug. Let me put it on the list. We have a list here somewhere, issues. So, pressing play, pressing timer play while paused brings up pause dialog. I suspect it's a relatively simple fix. But that's kind of what it's for. You're kind of circumventing the mechanism that's designed to solve the problem. So you kind of want two mechanisms that do the same thing because you ignore the first one. But then what would cause you to not ignore the second one? Because what if you wanted to stay paused? For example, I finished the puzzle, right? And I want to show somebody on stream or on Discord what I did, and I want to just click things and color things in. I don't want to unpause the timer. So it doesn't really make sense to auto unpause. You see what I mean? Like this dialog is exactly there to solve that problem. Just don't press stay pause. Just stay on this pause dialog, on this pause box. I mean, why do you press, like, why do you dismiss the dialog if you want to stay paused? And literally go away and not actually look at the puzzle. All right, so let's see how easy it will be to push marker elements into it. Now the element is managed up here, which is a bit annoying because we don't actually have access to the editor from the individual components. I think the component inspector now can move into deprecation land. The one thing I'm wondering if I should I'm just trying to think, because we obviously need, I mean, there's a couple of options, right? I can just use the DOM to retrieve that element. That's one option. The other option is to have some sort of shared reference to the editor or to the component manager from the components. Now, some things already need a manager reference, where I'm passing the manager in right now. But I could just pass in the manager when every component gets created, so every component has a reference to the manager. I don't actually want to spend too much time thinking about that right now, because my brain just goes into loops and it's actually not solving any current problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this here, And we're not going to call this editor. What's the word? Chrome? It's not the editor UI because that's kind of here. What would I call this? Editor display? Editor SVG? A name for cursors and editing handles. I wish I could Google stuff like that. What is the collective name? Handle carry. Collective label for editor handles and visual elements. Handles? I'm going to call it handles for now because I'm actually literally putting handles in there. But it might not be the... I'm going to get rid of that intermediate reference for the G. Just going to do this. And change inspector is no longer a thing. Selecting inspector is no longer a thing. Manager is doing all of that now. So, editor layer. Editor handles. Okay, my brain is a little frozen. So let's see, line elements. So when we're selecting a line component, we want two things. We want handles on the line points, and we want perhaps indicators elsewhere on the grid where the lines will move, right? And I have to think of how I want to render these. So, line component, we're selecting it. So we have a component, we have selection being, we're having a component being selected, right? Component has apply style set. So we could either interject apply style or we could call select component. Hey, Nina. Well, basically, the way the original CTC editor implemented things was that lines could be placed in subdivisions of a cell, and they put this little circle there. So what I would like to do is the moment that you're sort of in line editing mode, it gives you a little grid, like little dots just, to kind of give you an idea where to align things, and a little yellow circle over the points on the line that you can actually edit. Because, for example, this line across, I don't know if there's a point in the middle, you know? And it just makes it easier to grab something and drag something, right? So I'm just kind of thinking about how and where these going to get at. So because these indicators, right, they're going to be lots of small SVG elements. So I've made a layer for them in my SVG, but I of course have to decide, am I going to erase them? Am I going to redraw them every time they change? Am I going to, you know, how I'm going to handle it? Yes, exactly. Because one of the things that people like about the CTC puzzles is that the lines, you know, sometimes have very creative layouts and looks. And that's something fpuzzles cannot do, right? And that's kind of, but like, for example, here, I cannot take this point and move it. I can literally change the value for the point here manually, but I can't grab it and drag it. Like if I click, it just moves, creates another point, and I can't delete the points from here. I have to go down to this list and manually delete the points. So that's definitely something I want to have a better user interface for. And I've had that already implemented, right? It's just now I'm trying to figure out exactly what's a good general way of adding these markers and additional editor visualizations. So the selection style That's currently done purely via CSS. I don't need any extra elements in the SVG. But something like a dotted grid, I cannot just do that through CSS or some other tricks. So now I'm thinking, who is responsible for rendering this information? Is it the component manager, who doesn't give a hoot about the different individual things? Because that's something that only applies to lines, for example, doesn't apply to cages. So I think the component manager is basically the wrong place to do it. So it should be the component. The only problem is that there's a component for each individual line, right? So yeah, I guess apply style is the closest thing I have to finding out if our element is getting selected or unselected. So let's overload apply style in the line component, and so we don't need that. It's going to be just c.name. JSON.stringify, so we get nice quoting. Nope. And we want to call the inherited apply style. So we first of all, we want to actually just update the style. So we're going to call apply style, pass through the style name, yada yada yada. All right. Get element. Why is that being logged now? 747 and 731. Oh. So the only annoying thing is, why is it running through? Yeah, I gotta stop selecting things when they're getting added. I only should do that when I'm manually adding something. So let's get rid of that code. So add component, get rid of this. So we have nothing selected, perfect. Okay, and apply style selected. All right, so we care only if we're being selected or deselected. So we want to get our current style, which is where are all these expanded? Apply style. So current style. So we want to do that current style is this. We call it ref style. And then current style equals this. You know what? This is annoying. Do that. Now we're gonna do cur style. Now we're gonna do I'll log these out. And then we're gonna check for these transitions, the ones we care about, which is from, so like these hover stuff we don't care about. So we care from not selected to selected and from selected to not selected. So if pref style was selected and car style not equal selected, oops, console.warn deselect. All right. And here we do it the opposite. If pref style is not selected and the current style is selected. And then this becomes a select. And then we don't actually care about the rest of it. Like we don't care about hovers and all the other stuff. All right, so selecting this, selected. Now we should get a deselect and a select. Okay, good. And we can get rid of the span. And now we need to create all this UI stuff. And that could be complicated. And on top of that, we might want to find out, because I'm just thinking, like, if the previously selected thing was also aligned, we don't actually need to regenerate it. But it might actually, you know, it's not a complex operation and it's not going to happen very often. So I'm okay with destroying all the handles and just building new ones. I think that makes sense. So we're just going to do two functions. Create, let's call it attach to stay with our naming scheme. And the reason I call it attach is because in theory, the elements might exist, just not attached to the DOM. In this case, I am creating them from scratch though, but I'm just gotten used to using attach and detach for the DOM operations. So for select, we'll do this dot attach handles, and here we'll do this dot detach handles. All right. So we'll need a couple of things. We'll need an SVG render. We'll need our handles handles element, which is going to, for now I'm just going to use select it from here, and that's editor handles. All right. I'm just going to output that here and here, and we're going to put that there and that and yada yada yada. We can get rid of these root loud things, and this goes here. Today is going to be a relatively short stream. Got dinner with the in-laws tonight. Okay, obviously that should be query selector. So hovering shouldn't do anything, clicking should, okay. Where did you, we need to do get element. This is not the element. All right. Boom. So attach, now we should get a detach and then attach. Detach, attach, okay. Step 2, on attach, let's create a bunch of dots. Can we do these as a singular path? I guess it depends on how we are rendering a dot. Can we render a zero length line? Let's find out. So we'll do something like this. Target should be editor handles. Hopefully that'll just work. Right, fill none. Stroke. Let's just make it black. Round and round. Right. And then the path. It's going to be whatever this spits out. So I'm just going to draw it from 1, 1 to 2, 2 for now. Just a little diagonal line. But I can probably simplify this then. And we have a black line here. And I want to see what it looks like in the data. Stroke width 3. Okay. So, question now is, what if I do this? If I create, and let's not do it in this cell, let's go 1 over. That's kind of the worst place to do it. Actually, let's not go 1 over, let's go a little bit over, so it's not on the edge there. And we'll go 150. Like that. And then we can do a relative line of 0, 0 and see what that does. And it does create a dot. I hope that it would do that. That is excellent. And I think if I just do another one of these at 110, for example, it will create 2 dots in a singular path element. Yes. Well, that's what I'm building this editor for the app. I'm doing it every day. Every day I'm adding things to the app. The app is now at version, let's see, 0.158. That's a lot of updates and changes over time. All right, so just keep an eye on this. So now, in our previous version of the line editor, we had marked the subdivisions somewhere here. And I think I should just, for now, I'm just going to make that a global constant. But I would like to eventually make that configurable. So I'm not actually going to make it a constant. I'm going to make it a global variable. Global to the edit. I don't even want to say the word, but yeah, it's going to be a global variable for now. And then I'll deal with it later. Where is it? Component inspector. A sec. Too much stuff here. Editable line, section line, update point marker. Get component handle input down. Ah, wait, wasn't there a function that oh, did I delete that function? I think I deleted that function. There was a small function that rounded the RC coordinates to the to that grid. Ah, here we go. Get cell divisions, right? So we're gonna do something like let cell divs equals 4. So that means every cell is subdivided into 4 parts, 4 quadrants. So it has, well, yeah, it'll have, including the outer edges, there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. Well, you really just need to replace the front part. So if you go to fpuzzles, right, you go to any fpuzzles and you just put, you can even do this on mobile relatively easily. Everything before the N you delete and you go to SudokuPad.app/fpuzzles, and that should do the trick. That should be all you need to do. Oop, fpuzzles. I think I deleted something from the end. Wait, let me try again. Is this not loading? Let me try again. It is not loading. Okay, wait. Yeah, so let's try again. I think that was an invalid URL. Delete everything before the end. SudokuPad.app/fpuzzles. And that should open it. That should be all you need to do. Ah, maybe you didn't see it on the screen. So basically, I just delete everything. There's there's basically, in fpuzzles, it'll say load equals n4 or whatever. So delete everything before that n4 and replace it with sudokupad.app/fpuzzles, and then is the n4 and the rest. And that should work. It's easier than on the app.krakenthecryptic site, because there you have to encode it and all that stuff. All right, let's use the cell divisions now. And not just the cell divisions, we actually need to know how big our grid is and where everything starts and stops and all that stuff, right? So, framework.app, SVG render, puzzle, and we probably want to look at the min and max stuff, or just rows and columns. I think we can just look at rows and columns, right? So that rows calls equals puzzle.grid. Now select something, 9 and undefined. Rows calls, I'm pretty sure. Calls, all right. So we can do something a little bit funky here. And new. Actually, is that the thing? I forget. So this is calls map. So for each call, actually we're multiplied by cell divs, right? And I'm just going to test this out. So this would be 9, and this would be 4. And how many do I get? 36. Is that the right number? I think we need 1 extra. Let's try something here. Just to make them more visible. Oh. Yeah. So that'll make them quite nice and chunky and visible even above the other lines. And every dot should look like this. Ish. So let's spitball this here. So every dot should look like that. So we have something we don't care about. Actually, we can just do dot keys dot map I. I divided by cell divs times. And we want the SVG render cell size. So const cell size. So multiply this by the cell size. And that'll be our first part of this M thing. Right. So we'll just stick that here. And then we'll put 150 is fine. And then we'll do L00. No. No. This goes on the inside. This goes on the inside. Like that. And then we're joining it with spaces. That should be the path. Unexpected identifier. Keys map join. Keys map join. So we have an array, we'll turn into keys. We map it to strings with this internal substitution, and then we join them up. 768. Calls times new array, calls times cell this. Oop. There should be a comma here. And boop. Nope. Boop. Not a function. Pretty sure this is a function. Pretty sure keys returns an array. Oh. What if I do this? There we go. All right, bring the keys inside that. Turn the iterator into an array. Look, Mom, I'm a real array. And select. Okay, and we're missing exactly 1. So that should be +1. And that should be rows, columns, right? And we should be able to do the same thing with rows. Rows, yada, yada, yada. Dot map. We'll just do an R here. This should be calls, right? It's for every row, and then for every column. And when we're done with the columns, we'll join them just the same as when we're done with the, we'll join them the same as the rows. And this would be the second argument. So this would be x, y would be row, and x would be column. No. Yes. Rows for every row, and then for every column, we're walking down the X. Yes, and the rows stay. Okay. I think I got it. Hey! All right. So that would be our grid. Now let's make it less obnoxious. So maybe something like this. Just a little hint. We might even do it semi-transparent. I mean, originally I was gonna just do them black. The problem is the black doesn't show up on the grid line, but it doesn't have to, right? It doesn't have to show on the grid lines. It's okay. This is a little too subtle, perhaps. So I select the thing and I get a grid line. All right, so that's the one part. The other part is we want an element that shows off the points on the line itself. And I want that to be, I guess I can let that be also a singular thing. So we made those little yellow circles the first time round. I'm gonna just try to remember how I did it. Get UI. Nope. Handle. Drag start. Drag point. Update point marker. Update point marker. That sounds relevant. So we created the point marker using this thing here. All right. So there's no reason we cannot squash a bunch of those into a singular into a singular element. Basically, I'm just thinking about, can I reuse an element? All right. So that's the what do you call them? That's the background grid. And now we want to do a point handler. Point handler? No. An object for marking out the handles of this line. So the line data should be available already. And how did we translate it previously? Detach handles. Because I actually had a way of sort of selecting the thing. Yeah, because I don't think I was highlighting all the handles on the line, but I think I'd like to do that, even just to kind of, you know, get a handle on things. So we need, what do we need? Can we go by properties? I think we can go by properties, right? So we can say let props was this. Right, do this, select line, waypoints. All right, so let points equals props dot waypoints. And now I'm just gonna do the same thing with this thing here. So what we're going to do is we're going to map the points. And these are, let's keep them in row column. These are in row column format. So let's stick with that. Okay. We're basically going to do something similar to this, but this time based on the actual points, like that. We're going to make it, I don't know, a bit bigger. And this time we are going to make them red. So I'm just going to map that here. And then, whoops. And then we're going to join them as well. I think that's all we need to do. So this is just, this is not actually what I want to use. It's just a quick intermediary thing. Let's do this. Get rid of one level of indentation. Keep it a little bit more compact, a little concise. Well, let's see if that blows up. Boom. Okay, so we get those little red dots here. So if I make these bigger, it looks like that. It's actually not too terrible. I was planning on actually doing circles, but this actually works. I'm not unhappy with this. I mean, it gets a little messy, a lot of things overlapping. It might be more clear if it was like a thin black outline or something. But one thing it shows me, for example, is that that blue line has a... okay, no, because we're not removing them. Yes. So detach handlers, let's throw that in there quickly. Yeah, so handles lm dot children dot for each child or dot remove. Yada yada yada. So if I select this one and then this one, handles lm dot children. Come on. Come on. Tired of your different ways of iterating things. Just standardize already. All right. Okay, I thought this would have a dot in the middle, but that was actually just the effect of it not removing the markers of the other line. All right. Quick and good. I mean, I was going to do circles, but you know what? I'm just going to stick with this for a second. And then what I did, I think, was I had a mouse move handler, and then I did a distance check against the points. So now these components don't generally have mouse move handlers, but obviously I'm going to need that. So I don't think any of them implement that just yet. Yeah, the move handler is on the component itself. Let's just find out if it works already. Maybe it already works, right? Won't know until you try it. Yeah, so there's no mouse move handler management here. I'm thinking about putting calling mouse move on. Do we want to call it on all components or just the selected component? Maybe just the selected component. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe you cannot modify a component that's not currently selected. I think that makes sense. If you want to do, because I was thinking like maybe you want to hover on it, but it might get a bit messy. So we're gonna do something like if we're gonna do this. If cell and type of cell dot handle input move equals function, we're going to call it. I have this strange feeling like we've done this already. In fact, we have. We did it here. Yeah. So now we're getting an input move there. Excellent. And now we need to get our cursor distance. Target point, updater, points find RC equals P target RC. Delete point RC next. I guess we're just gonna look for the closest point. Okay. I guess we need to convert this to RC. I guess that's kind of done in get input component or whatever. Where is it? Get input component. Okay. So position X and Y, and yeah, this is part of that one. All this stuff is general hogwash. In fact, we don't use the prop stuff down here, so let's separate this a little bit, because now we're going to need to do the same thing in here. Let's log some things out. And I think these input RC values, I think, are directly compatible with the waypoint values. I think. Except one is an array and the other one is an RC object. Commas would help. So select, nope. Select the line, move the mouse. So we have an RC value and we have these. This the distance function I'm using, I think I was using rcdist. rcdist. I don't know if... Nope. Equals. Nope. Equals. Calc distance. Okay, so it actually uses calc distance array. All right. Okie dokie. So we can do something like map rc calc distance array. Yeah, that's just the point from input rc. Let rc equals rc. And then from rc to p. Right? And we're getting distances. Getting distances, but in reality, all we care about is the shortest distances. Shortest distance. Well, net closest t closest dist number dot max safe integer, and we'll do points dot for each p. Let dist yada yada yada. If the distance is less than our closest distance, closest distance becomes dist, and closest point becomes p. Right. And then at the end, we should have a closest distance and a closest point. Oops. So select this. And as I move from point to point, the next one will highlight. And now we can get rid of all the spam. So we have the closest point. And basically what I'm going to do now is I'm more or less going to re-render this part. And I'm just going to do this dot point handles equals, right? I'm going to do this dot grid handles equals, and then I'm going to make sure both of these, during detachment, both of these also deleted, so we don't have weird dangling references sitting around. And then here we can pull the point handles out, and then we're basically just gonna do this. Ooh, one little problem. Since I'm drawing the points with the thickness of the stroke, I don't actually have a separate style for each point. Yeah, the problem is right now I don't have a circle there. It's literally just a zero length line of a certain thickness, right? So if I do that, then I have to actually render circle objects. And now I'm realizing I actually have to... Excuse me. And besides, it's not a big deal if you don't fully see it. You kind of know where your points are. This is just an indicator, right? It's not crucial to know it exists or not. It doesn't matter if you see it or not, to be honest. I don't really need to have them at all. But what I do have to have is something that I can change. So I probably want to create a dot handle. So point handle, and we're gonna do a point marker, which just exists and doesn't have any thingamajigs on there. And I'm gonna delete that one as well. And then we're gonna put the point marker in here, right? And then this dot point marker dot set attribute. Yeah, but you don't need to see it at all. I could just remove them. To be honest, I might not have them in the final thing there. I'm just putting them there to help me visualize it while I'm programming. So, and I might do it completely differently and do it away. So I'm not gonna worry about the details of it right now. If I'm gonna throw it away in half an hour. So we want to assign this for the closest point. I'm gonna do this. That's fine. I'm just gonna do that. And point marker, stroke width. We probably want to modify both of these. Well, no, we don't. Well, we might in the future because I might have to modify them for deletion, etc. Because if I, like right now, I'm trying to see if I can have a singular path object to render all the dots. So I'm not going to worry about the styling of that, because if that doesn't work out, I might have to do it completely different. I might actually have to create a separate SVG object for every single point. And now it looks like I might have to do that anyway. Because what I mean, I could still do a singular path. Like I could have two objects. One is a singular path, but actually draw circles for every point. And then the second object is a separate circular path for a single point that I want to modify. But it would then mean the old point would show underneath, so it might not actually be good. So I might actually change to just create a new object for each of the points. So then I can just modify one of them, not have to worry about the other ones. Because also, like what I did before, like for mobile compatibility, I had a press and hold, and then it would sort of basically mark the thing, and then you would click again to delete a point. And I could do something similar for just pressing anywhere on the line to break it in half, right? These are all features that none of the other editors have. And they have nothing to do with the underlying data. You know, they'd be fairly cross-compatible. So it's definitely stuff I'd like to do. So I think this doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm gonna do separate handles after all. So what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna map the points the other way around. So the points will be mapped into rendered parts. And we don't even have a point marker then. This we're gonna comment out so it doesn't just blow up on us. And we go back to point handles here. And then each point handle, instead of having this, has just this. My phone keeps flashing. The dog left the office. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to wind down soon. Does this give me the correct things? We need one more of these guys. Just gonna bring this down here so the indentation makes sense. Because now I can more easily switch to what I did here. I think this part, right? It's just, it's such a pain in the butt to draw a circle in with a path in SVG. I mean, I hate it. I hate it. Everything dies. R is not defined. It's right here. No, it's not. Man. All right. So 0.4 of a cell, something like that. Ooh, no, that's the radius. Okay, 0.2 of a cell then. Maybe a little thicker. Maybe not red. Maybe yellow. What did I have previously? I think I had... Ugh. It's just... this looks muddy. Yeah, I don't actually like that. It's too bright. It needs to be a darker color. Subtlety is okay, but it's a bit too subtle maybe. What if it was just plain black? Thing is, there's like things like crop key dots and stuff I don't want it to get confused with. This is actually, it stands out quite a bit. Okay. All right. Closest point. And if we do points.index of closest p, that should give us a number that should also index into the handles. So let point handle equals point handles this. All right, Nina, thanks for the feedback. Actually, you see, I've changed it. Yeah, even if I complain, I usually do the right thing. I mean, I don't like the black at all, but I wanted a lighter color. But then a lot of editors have a black background. That's probably my background, what I'm thinking of. And I think I need to redo all of this, which I'm not happy about. I mean, I can later on refactor and encapsulate all that, so I don't actually mind too badly if this is going to be a bit of a dog's breakfast here. That being said, my dog eats very well, so it doesn't mean what it used to mean. So we probably put this up here next to that thing. And maybe we'll do it capital R. JavaScript case and stuff? I don't know. No, we don't want it to be capital R. In fact, we don't want it to be constant specifically because we're actually going to change it, right? So, boom, boom, boom. And yeah, I'm going to bring it back down just like an idiot. An idiot. You know what? See ya. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little helper function that lets me render or update a part. So if I pass in an element, no, I was just thinking if I pass in an element that it would update it, and if I don't pass in an element, it would create a new one. Not yet. I haven't used it enough to know if it's actually going to become relevant. So we do the same thing here, but now we're going to make it a bit bigger. And we probably change the stroke color. And previously the stroke color is black. Now maybe we'll make it yellow or something. I don't know. Ah, maybe here we'll make it a transparent black. Something like this. And then we'll update those two. So this becomes hash 000. And stroke width becomes a little thicker as well. So maybe 3. Let's see. Oops. And that's currently just a hover effect, right? All right, that's kind of cool, but not what I was going for. It's pulling the RC of the mouse cursor. Yeah, not what I had in mind. Closest path, here we go. Yeah, and now it doesn't undo the previous one. So now either we set them all up, or we remember which one the previous one was, yada yada yada. Ugh, I hate this sort of stuff. I mean, the easiest thing would be just to loop through all of them, right? No, I'm not gonna do it. The longer I mess around with this, the more I feel like I need a function to handle all of this. So we want to do this, right? And then we'll do ph. So if ph, the point handle equals the closest point handle, we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll do whatever the default style was, which is this one. And yada, 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 same for all of them. 0.5. So stroke width 3 or 1.5. And then the only difference in the path is actually this. So, yeah. I'm gonna do that. Yada yada yada. Closest p. Burp, burp, burp. If they're 0.3, otherwise it's 0.2. And this will be pH. And this will be something like that, right? I don't know. Maybe that'll work. Oh, no, it doesn't. Can't use point handle before initialization. Ah. I didn't want to. All right. Can I finally have hovery things? Nope. IDX, pH, and I'm just closest p pH. I think that's the error. I did not type this properly. I didn't type it properly anywhere. Damn it. Which means that wasn't the problem. Damn it. Okay, so I feel like my units are all screwed up here. So 1. Yeah, I'm an idiot. The closest p is actually the position, not the point itself. So we need closest point index, right? Let closest closest IDX equals yada yada yada. And we'll swap all of these out for closest IDX and compare them to IDX instead. Like that. And now that looks much better. Now it selects the closest point, but I probably don't want to select, you know, always the closest point. I think we need a like a minimum distance, right? So if closest distance is less than cell size, half cell size, right? Then we'll do this, otherwise the index will be -1, right? So select this one. No. So the distance is measured in cell units, not in subcell units. Okay. So if I get less than half a cell away from the dot, so I can't select it from out here. I could make it a little bit less sensitive because I could reasonably expect the user to have to go on top of the dot, and the dot is no bigger than 0.3, even in its large format. So if I do this, that makes sense, I think. All right, I want to click it. It makes me want to click it. That's the whole point. The whole point is that if somebody who doesn't know how to use any of it looks at it, it makes them want to click it. Oh, I think my dog just entered the safe zone of our house. All right, that's a good progress. Oh, let me refresh that without all the spam going on. Yeah, so we're one step closer to actually editing the lines properly. So I think I'll do what I did last time, long press, and then it marks it, let's say red, and then if you tap it again, it deletes the dot. I'm not certain yet if I want to be able to add points the same way, but maybe I can, right? Because I have sort of distance to line algorithms for the selection. So if I can say hold here, and then it marks, hey, if you keep pressing, it'll break the line here. All right, I'll call it a day here. Thank you very much for hanging out. Much appreciated. And, you know, if you haven't subscribed yet, I would appreciate a sub on YouTube or even on Twitch. Check out the Patreon. More information at svencoast.com. And I'm keen on getting this edited out. But obviously, I haven't forgotten about all the other things I have on the list here. But to be honest, there's also some other things I need to do. Like I have to set up another server before the end of the week. And it's going to take some time. So I'm kind of pushing the editor forward. So I want to get it far along if I can. That's it. Thank you very much. Take care.